Hello, Simeon. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm okay. I'm all
Yeah.
right. How are things going?
Not bad at all, and you?
I'm okay. So, thanks for joining us once
Mhm.
again. And today we're going to be talking about children and how parents can better support themselves or support the children who are struggling with addiction, maybe drugs or alcohol, whichever addiction it is. What I want to start with, Simeon, is the is the report that I read from World Health Organization that
Yeah.
said that every 10 seconds someone dies from an alcohol related drug use
hmm
condition or something that is related to alcohol use. Somebody dies. And that is a very, very high statistic that every 10 seconds in the world someone is dying, and it has something to do with alcohol.
hmm
So the programs we're doing are very sensitive, and they really need to be had, like we talked about last time, where you advise that these are conversations that families that are struggling with these issues need to come out and talk about them, because it's a worldwide problem. I don't even know why alcohol is not very strongly regulated in many countries, including Uganda, where we have so many people struggling with the disorder. And alcohol use has now been categorized as an illness, and it is actually called alcohol use disorder.
hmm
So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the alcohol exists,
Mm.
and it's not really regulating and all that. Because even if you do that, if I want to take my alcohol, I will take my alcohol. So it's more to do with the individual.
Is educating ourselves about
Yes,
it,
about
about
it.
the
Very good, very
risks,
good. Well stated.
and
Educate ourselves about it. Yes.
do you ever think that there's a place for alcohol and for alcohol in people's lives? That if
What
because
do
there
you
are
mean?
lots of people who say I regulate the way I regulate my drinking, and I don't drink a lot, and I use it as a it's I socialize. I drink for social purposes.
Okay.
What
Well, the thing
what does
is,
that mean for you?
what does that mean for
As
me?
someone who has been, the reason why I'm asking this question is that
Yes.
can someone who has the disorder or has had the disorder, can that person get to that place where they can say, I am now using it as this, there's room for alcohol in my alcohol use in my life? Is there?
Now,
Yeah.
the thing is, I think that wouldn't be a proper way to address it.
Mm,
But if we are talking about alcohol related problems,
mm,
we need to go deeper because
mm,
that's basically you're looking at it on the outside. We
mm,
want to deal with it from the inside.
mm,
You understand?
mm,
So I would prefer a better approach. I wouldn't like to say I'm now using it on this level. We are here to show people certain things
mm.
to better their lives. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could take it
Yeah.
that way. So maybe you can
You're not
jump
going to
into.
commit yourself
No, no,
to
no, no,
deciding whether
no,
it
no, 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 no,
can be used on a social basis and be okay for people
no, no.
to
Because really, that's not the thing I want to address.
yeah, yeah,
Because there's people drinking it, there's people not taking it. So we'll start on a conflict basis.
yeah.
So let's go straight into it.
Okay, so I'm going to take you right into your territory where we are talking about how we can support parents of children who suffer from drug and alcohol use. So
hmm
we have
Now
done
you're talking.
Now I've got your attention.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
have done a bit of reading, and we have narrowed down. It's not the only. They're not the only answers certainly, but we've narrowed down
Yes,
what
and
people
another
can
thing
do.
is we are not like saying we are the professionals of
No,
this. We are
good.
just giving our views and
Yes,
and
our
what
thoughts.
we've researched on and
Yes,
everything and personal
correct.
experience. Go on.
Yes, correct. So that's a good thing to highlight to people that we're not specialists in drug and alcohol use, but we have the personal experiences as well as myself. I do work with children who have had
Mm,
that
mm.
parenting history, and
Okay.
so but we are not at all specialists in that. So we're going to talk about the things that we feel that are important, the key things that we feel are important for parents to support their children and their loved ones, really. And some of the things that we have narrowed down to from the research that we've done, it's vast, there's a lot of ways to do things, is open communication. That's the first one that we narrowed
Yeah,
down
yeah,
to.
yeah.
What do you
So
have to say about that?
yes, open communication is something that is very important. We
Mhm,
need to talk to our children. We
mhm,
need to talk to our people. We need to talk to we need to talk to them and find out their issues. And they also need to find out our issues as well, because this is a world of interaction. It's giving information and say you take it in and I also give you information. It's exchange of information. This
mhm,
will give us a better approach.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we say open communication with children
Yes, yes.
specifically, because this episode
Mm.
is about the children
Yes.
who are
Let me
already
let me
experiencing, yeah.
let me come in there. When you're talking about communication, we're talking about things that do exist.
Hmm.
We are not talking about alien stuff here.
Hmm.
The drugs exist, the alcohol exists, these problems exist, and many more, and so much.
Hmm.
So we need to address these issues.
Hmm.
Open communication, find out what your children are all about, talk
Hmm.
to them about these issues.
Hmm.
Maybe if I could just take it throughout, you break them down bit by
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Now, when we're talking about open communication,
Hmm.
we are going to deal with certain issues. These issues, how do you talk about these issues? One, you do more research,
Hmm.
educate yourself
Hmm.
on what is out there.
Yeah.
Get to know the drugs
Hmm.
because they're out there.
And is
Just
that the
like you
parents
know,
you're speaking to, telling parents to get to know what
yes,
is out there, what your children are
just
being
yes.
exposed to? Hmm.
Just like I know there's an aspirin for this, there's
Hmm.
a particular tablet for this, there's a capsule for
Yeah,
this
yeah.
to heal this disease. How
Hmm.
does it heal it? So getting about the particular drugs,
Hmm.
because parents out there or people out there don't even know these drugs. They know nothing, absolutely nothing. They don't even know that they exist.
Hmm.
So when you get to know about these drugs, when you do more research, more education, and find out more about these drugs,
Yeah,
you find out that you can actually detect some of these things at an early stage.
yeah, yeah. Simeon, and on that point exactly, I've come across parents who have said, my children don't do drugs, so and
Mhm.
don't take alcohol. So do these
And
parents,
we have grown up in this background. We know
yes,
nothing about that. That's not our stuff.
yes,
Go
yes.
on, go on.
Um, would this would there is there still room for these parents to have conversations with their children, because their children
Absolutely,
are
yes.
actually meeting these are
They're,
actually
they're,
exposed to it.
yes, they're exposed. Parents don't think kids are exposed. You think because you've given them a particular channel, a particular lifestyle, they
Mhm.
do not know nothing, but they know a lot. Actually, they even know more than you do because
Yeah,
they're more exposed. So
yeah,
we need to find out, do more research, find
yeah,
out more about these issues so that you know what you're dealing with. You
yeah,
soon come to realize that if my child is acting this way, there's something amiss. I need to find out more. Then you start to communicate further
yeah.
as
I
you
do
know the particular drugs and what they do. Yes.
I do have an example of a parent who told me that their children don't know anything about drugs. But when I had that conversation with the parent, um, and the children later on, because I said it's still important for them to know about these things, to look out for these signs and things that can bring them into exposure to drugs. But when I talked to the children, I found that they actually knew so much about drugs. They knew a lot that was out there, and they were actually giggling about the naivety of parents thinking that children do not know about drugs. Now, if you, it's good for those children that they knew about it, but they also haven't taken onto that exposure and practiced and tried to take drugs for themselves. But it just goes to show you how much parents can be naive for themselves,
Yes.
and what children know in schools, and how we have this safe thinking that my child is in this international school, this is a good school, they're not going to be exposed to drugs. But actually we are finding that children even in international schools are just as exposed as children elsewhere. And when I'm talking about this the situation of drugs and alcohol, I'm basing it predominantly on my country of origin, that sometimes we have these safe spaces in our heads where we think our children are safe, and they may not necessarily be as safe as
But
we.
they actually do know a lot.
So we
They know
open
a lot because they're
communication
more exposed. Open
with you.
communication is very important. You
Yeah,
detect
yeah.
early. You detect early and
Put safe
address certain
hands. Yeah.
issues. Yes,
And you
go
put
on.
safe hands. Thank you. That's a very good point. So the second one that we did talk about was about also parents educating themselves about. You've already
Yes,
touched on that. If you can give
I
us
can add
a
to
bit
it.
more on what that education would look like.
Yes, that education, take for example, if taking the drugs that they know nothing about,
Hmm.
what are they addressing, if I may ask?
Yeah,
You could be addressing something in a different way, something in a wrong format. You need
yeah,
to understand he's on this kind of drug, it's got these side effects,
hmm,
and deal with it accordingly.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, it's
yeah.
also
So
go on, go on.
So it's understanding the type of drugs that we have our children exposed to, like ice. I mean, I've only just recently got to understand about ice, and we're not going to talk about, we're not teaching about drugs, so we're not going to talk about details of drugs. But there are certain there are all sorts of drugs that children are being exposed to.
Yeah,
Some of them are being wrapped up in sweets and made to look like sweets. And so
yeah.
if
And even
parents,
I thought I knew almost every drug, but there's drugs I don't know as well.
if there's new
Yeah,
ones that you're seeing and you're going, okay, I didn't know this
yeah, yeah,
drug
yeah.
existed.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes.
So they need to be more enlightened about these things. Find out more, and you'll have a better approach.
And I think what
Yes,
you've also said, go on.
and when we're talking about these things, I'll
Mm,
keep insisting on this.
mm,
We are not the professionals, and you
yes,
guys can come in and give us more information.
yes.
Join us. Come
We
join
would love
us.
to
Let's
hear
go
from
celebrate.
professionals,
Let's
people who
celebrate
work in that field, yeah, to
the
come and
knowledge.
yeah, would love to hear
Yes,
from professionals who are working in that field
yes,
and are passionate about helping our children across the globe, because this is
yes.
a global issue. This is not an individual issue. It is affecting families worldwide,
Mm,
whether in use or in having a relative that is using drugs and alcohol. So
mm,
we very much want to hear from professionals. Please do um, send us a message if you, and we'll make contact with you.
yeah.
So Simeon, in terms of knowing about drugs and alcohol is what is out there. There is also knowing how you're going to understand the person's behavior. So, for example, some drugs will cause hallucinations. They will cause also
Another will be violent. One will be so loving, and
yes.
you think they love you, but they actually don't. It's just a drugs.
I'm sorry for laughing because it's the way you
Yeah,
put
they
it.
bring
One
out
will be
different
loving.
emotions.
Yes. Your facial expression was so funny that because you're thinking, "Yet he is my child. They love me so much. They cry when they're not with me, but actually they're under the influence." And that's important for family, for even for families to know that. And
Mm,
when you see these behaviors in your children are being very aggressive. It's important to then that communication that we talked about in the beginning, the open communication. You,
yes.
I think this
And the research and
communication,
the learning.
yes, I think this communication, it really has to start from a younger age. Parents have to be available and
Yeah.
communicating with their children so that it's easy for them to breach those conversations. It's conversations, and now I'm speaking as a professional working with children. Conversations
Yes.
with children cannot start at 14 years.
And you have to be sensitive while doing this.
Yes.
You
They,
don't just come in and
yes.
say, okay, you're doing this thing, you're doing this alcohol, you're doing this drug, or you're doing ABC. So blah blah blah, this and that. Okay, go on, go on.
So conversations, yeah, with children, like I was saying, they have to be um, before 14 years. Around 9, 10 is you start to have age appropriate conversations with them about things pertaining to life. And therefore, when difficult conversations come up, it's easy for children not to look at you funny and like, what is mommy? I really don't want to have this conversation with you, mommy, because they've never had those conversations with you. And
Yeah.
so starting early helps, but starting at any time is better than not starting at all.
Yes.
So, and that is that bit on educating ourselves and having open the children, because if you don't talk to your children, somebody else is talking to your children.
Yes,
And
that's right. And
and
they could. We don't know what they're talking. We don't know what they're
yes,
saying to
yes,
them.
yes, definitely somebody's having conversations with your children. And as somebody
You're
who,
teaching them something,
yeah,
and
yes,
you're not
yes,
teaching them anything. Uh-huh.
correct, correct. And you're not teaching them how you would want to raise, because fundamentally raising children is your responsibility, not even schools, because school, you want to teach your children how you do things, what your culture and your beliefs are, and you want to for them to grow up doing that than somebody else doing it for you. So we are going to talk about the next point, which was about, now you, here is your child already involved in drugs and alcohol. You've opened up communication, you've educated yourself about the drugs that they're taking or they may be involved with. Then you begin to ask yourself, how can I create an environment that helps my child to live this?
Yes, yes.
How can I make
When
it a safe space? Yes, go on,
yes,
please.
you're talking about the environment. You're looking at safe pockets.
Yeah.
You create safe places, safe pockets. I'll call them safe pockets, but it's
Mhm,
basically a safe environment where
mhm,
we've got kind of regulations
mhm.
and rules that they have to abide to, because not always do you have to be flexible.
Yes.
Because, you need to be careful while dealing with this situation, because at times, say if I'm off and I'm running out of a room and going to the streets and causing havoc, you probably need to lock me in or lock me somewhere
Mhm,
and deal with that as well.
mhm.
So there's so many strategies. And there's one thing I would like to talk about when you're talking about the safe zones or safe pockets or environment. Personally, I decided to go off grid and used nature. That was my safe zone. But let me tell you why I did this. I did this because of stigma.
Yeah.
You guys wanted me to check into rehab, and that is, uh, we've got our beautiful rehab here, Butabika. It's a fantastic place. You get in there, serene environment, peaceful. I was amazed.
Yeah.
You really want to, like, blend in with the guys that are in there and
Yeah.
fit in with them. But the thing is, it's stigma. I
Yes.
was like, now, how are these people going to see me in this institution? How will I be able to communicate when I come out? That's if I come out anyway. So, yeah, my MBs are running low. I hope it didn't go off before that. So,
Oh, yeah.
so what happened was
Mm.
I couldn't go there. I was like, man, there's too much. But we need to educate people that these places are not bad. There's private institutions, there's the Butabika, there's government institutions. These are
Mhm.
all beautiful places. We need to accept them, embrace them, and learn more about them. They're not here to destroy, they're here to help.
Yes.
And it was cause of stigma. Like, I'm not going to that place. I have to find my own place. But
Hmm.
there's also private places for those who are afraid. So, and they're beautiful places. They do a good job. I've got a few friends who are in those places. So I decided to go off grid. I use nature.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's educating people also. Even we, the adults, to be educated. We need to get further education on these things. That there's treatment out there. There's different things you can do.
Simeon, I'm going to wrap it up because we did say we're going to stick to the 15 minutes. It's 20 minutes
Yeah.
already, but we've
We
covered
could
quite
go
a
through it
bit
quick. We could
ground.
go through it quick.
Yeah, we have the last bit, which is activities, forming
Yes, yes,
activities
yes.
for your children, family activities. If you can touch on that very quickly, please.
Yeah, family activities. These create bondage that you can. I mean, it's interesting. Family activities. You could do things like swimming, fishing. You go out shopping. Don't be afraid of your people. Do sports. Find out what the addicts are interested in and follow that path and introduce some other activities. There's a lot you can do with that. This will create time off the addiction
Yes.
and create a better bondage for better communication, and
Yes.
maybe you can come in and add in some more.
Yes, so thank you so much for that, Simeon. And yes, we did say activities, even just having dinner together and
Yes.
establishing routines that
Oh
include,
yes.
you have dinner at home at 9 o'clock. We're expecting you
Mm.
to have dinner at 9 o'clock
Yes.
with us. And
You
those,
could go to the national parks, you could go to the zoo, you could go globe trotting for those who love and can afford. You
yes,
could go different places, go to your village, go to the country home, go out there and live there for a while,
there's
get
lots
into
we can,
nature. There's lots of activities. Go bird watching, watch
yes,
the insects. There's a lot you can do.
yes.
Yes.
And those are
Mm.
for people who, for those who have children who are already sadly involved in drugs and
Yes.
alcohol use. Create activities for them when you still have the control. And even those who are, and even adults, families can still go out with these adults, because we have to remember the drugs and alcohol do not define the person entirely. There's
Exactly.
different things about this person that they're still functioning in. They make good friendships, and you have to celebrate those. Simeon,
Yes.
you're agreeing
They've
so
got
much. You want to talk
Yeah,
about that?
because they've got these addicts have we struggling addicts or addicts have got we've got our times when we are in our faculties and are functional
Yes,
and I could be of help. You could use that time frame, that period when I'm
yes,
still sober and
yes,
create something nice. Then
yes,
maybe later on I go off and you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
but it will be in a calculated way.
Yes. So we have to, it's recognizing that they're human beings and they do
Yes.
have a contribution in society. We
They're
shouldn't
special beings, just like anyone is special.
Yes, we shouldn't be putting them at the back seat and saying, "Oh, that one has the illness or the disorder, and therefore cannot contribute to society." They can absolutely contribute to society.
A
They
great
can
deal, a great
contribute
deal.
to your life. They give some of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
best
yeah.
counsel.
You could go to the socials, and these people, by the way,
Mhm.
you can also, it's not, I won't say using them because that would be a funny term, but
Yeah.
you can find a way of, now, like the way we're doing it here, we are trying to throw more light out there,
Yes.
and in a way, we get funding, we get paid. There's a lot that goes on. So now I was this lost person, but I could be a breadwinner. I am a breadwinner.
Yes.
You can use the situation to your advantage.
Yes.
And then another thing you could say, find out that I'm using, let's say, let me give an example. If I'm using 1 million shillings or say $1,000 in a given period of time to
Yes.
consume the drug or alcohol,
Hmm.
I could reduce, or we find ways of reducing on the amount of money that is spent. If I'm using, say, 1,000, I could use 900 shillings, and the other 100 goes to do good things, goes
Yeah.
to uplift others.
Contributing back into the society.
Yes.
And that's
So,
what makes it useful.
so guess what? As I'm probably drinking or getting high, I'm like, but part of my money is going to a good deed. That will bring some sanity within me in a way, and it will bring happiness and comfort within me. I'm doing something, even in a funny state or in a particular state.
Yes.
Yes.
And so what you're trying to say is that they still see the value in the person that is
Yeah.
struggling with
Yes.
addiction
Please see the value.
and
Yes,
yeah,
there's always value in people.
yes. Oh, that let's
Yes.
close at that. Let's leave it at that. There's always
Okay.
value in people. So
Find a
that
way to
was
harness the value.
yeah. So thank you
Yes.
so much, Ben, for your time. And I want to thank
Yes.
everybody who will see this. I want to thank people who have supported our episodes, people who have tuned in relentlessly and given us
And people showing
encouragement.
love because we are getting the love.
We are getting so much
Yes.
love from you guys.
Relations are
Yeah,
being made,
repaired
yeah, repaired.
and
Yeah, yeah,
extended. And we are
yeah.
so thankful for
And we
that.
are glad and we are happy and thank you all for the support. We do
Yeah.
appreciate
Okay. All right
it.
then. It's okay. Cheers.
Okay.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and please tune in with us next time as well.